Have you ever asked yourself the question, who do you call when the police are harassing you? What if you're an activist and need help? Who do you trust enough to ask for help when your car breaks down or when you're being bullied at school or need medical help? What about a terrorist attack or a mass shooting? Well, Cell 411 is a fantastic new app that allows you to issue real-time emergency alerts to your family, neighbors, or friends, to one of them or many, in an instant with the tap of a finger. The emergency alert includes your exact GPS coordinates, and your trusted friends will get turn-by-turn directions to your location so they can come and help you in need. You'll be notified of an ETA, who's coming to help you, and when they'll arrive at your location. All this happens within seconds. Cell 411 is changing the way humans are handling emergencies all over the world. And the best thing about it is that it's completely free. It's not dependent on government or decades-old analog telephone networks to function. Whether you're a student, parent, neighborhood watcher, or activist, this app is for you. Give it a try and download it today from getcell411.com.
Sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network on theseedsofliberty.com and theconsciousresistance.com. So, Peaceful Anarchism is covered by the BIPCOT No-Gov license. This allows for reuse for anyone except for government and the agents thereof. You can find out more information at bipcot.org. So today we have, delighted to have Virgil Vaduva. I've been trying to get this guy on for the longest time. I hope I didn't miss all the, the fanfare. I hope Cell 411 has not died down yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, hopefully not. But he's coming in from Ohio, but he's not originally from Ohio. He's a voluntarist, Renaissance man, multi-talented person, information security professional, and hacker, among other things. His website is virgilvaduva.com, and you can also find information on Cell 411 at getcell411.com. So, and you can also follow his work through Facebook. He has a Facebook page, Virgil Vaduva, and then another one, Ohio Open Carry, and then one just for Cell 411, and then another one, this recent one called Truth Voice. So yeah, he's from Communist Romania, who shares is a path that's shared by my wife as well. So I'm very interested to hear. I love interviewing people who come from these really harsh, strict authoritarian regimes, because everybody. I've gotten I know a couple of different people who come from like Russia and Romania and Hungary and different places like that, and I like to hear different stories, because for me it paints a bigger picture of how it really was, right? So yeah, so I want to talk about that, as well as how he came to voluntarism, which I assume is related to Communist Romania, and of course Cell 411, and perhaps how technology is shaping the future of freedom. So Virgil, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I heard you interviewed by Jeff Berwick, and I think, did Tom Woods interview you as well?
No, he has not. I wish I would score. No offense to you or Berwick or anyone else, but Tom Woods has a huge following. I don't know how many listeners, but I wouldn't say no to him. I wish I could get in touch with him or his producer or something and have a chance to talk to him. Yeah,
I hope so too. That guy has a big following, and it didn't happen by accident either. He's really, really skilled, entrepreneur and marketer with his, with his podcast and his website. So it takes a lot of work to get that many followers. But yeah, so please get into a little bit about your history in Communist Romania, how it was like. from your perspective, by the time, well, I guess you left in 92, right? So, and it ended in 89, I think it was, right?
Sure, definitely. And sorry for the quality of the audio here. It's like I said, I live out in the country, and we have very poor internet. It's almost communist level internet access here.
Actually, before you get into that, I just want to say something interesting. I don't know if you heard this recently, but my wife told me that Romania right now has one of the fastest internet connections in the world. Have you heard about this?
I heard that.
You did?
I did, and it's fascinating because they are very unregulated. That's what cracks me up. In Romania, the telcos are not as regulated as they are here, so there's an incentive to innovate and create and pull fiber everywhere. I mean, my family, they live out in a village somewhere in south of Bucharest, and they can order multi-megabit fiber access to their homes, and they still have outhouses in their backyard. So it's insane. It's insane the level of internet access they get, and there's very heavy and fierce competition. Unlike here, where these monopolies like AT&T and Time Warner, they're encouraged by the government to to stay as they are.
Right.
There's no innovation at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'd be happy to talk to you about my history. So I was born in Romania in the 70s, and basically, the entire time I grew up, I more or less I grew up thinking and hoping as I started getting older that someday I'll come here to the U.S. and be able to pursue a better life, more freedom, and the ability to have a good career and make good money and so on. And largely, to be honest with you, that was due to my father, who was an avid listener to radio, to Voice of America and Radio Free Europe. And those are two radio networks that were heavily subsidized by the United States government in an effort to undermine the Eastern Bloc and the Soviet Bloc, right? So it was very interesting because these radio avenues gave us a lot of, insight into what life in the West was like. There's prosperity. People didn't wait in line for 4 hours to buy a loaf of bread, for example, or frozen chicken. And that was our little window into, what the world is like when freedom, is the door of freedom is open a little bit more. And then, of course, anyone who grew up in the 70s and 80s in Romania remembers Dallas. So, are you familiar with the show Dallas?
No, I've never heard it, but I mean, I've never seen it, but I've heard a little bit about it.
Okay. So I don't know how old you are, but Dallas, I'm in my 40s now, I was growing up and I was a kid. Can you hear me?
No, I was just saying I was born in 82. I'm 33.
82. Okay, so you're about 10 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So Dallas, it's interesting because the commies in Romania, they were not playing any Western shows at all. But for some reason, it was heavily censored TV. There's only 2 TV stations in the entire country. And they were playing Dallas. And Dallas was very interesting show. In my mind, it was very very capitalistic, so to speak, because you have JR, he's a ruthless businessman making all these deals to make money and get rich and all that, and his family, and you have all these narratives going on where it's basically, here's this family and all they want to do is make more and more money. And it's shocking because that little show actually was another window to these oppressed Romanians into what life in America supposedly was like. Of course, it's TV, you can only get so much of the truth, but still it was fascinating, right? And, I kind of grew up watching Dallas with my parents talking about who shot JR and all these, storylines that, everyone who's watched Dallas ever, remembers. And really that's kind of what the context for me coming here has been. And eventually I grew up and, when I turned, 18, 19, in 1989, the wall came down, as you well know. And the U.S. Embassy in Bucharest, they've decided just out of the blue to start offering student visas to young Romanians. And I got very lucky because I was that very first batch of Romanian high school graduates that got approved to obtain a student visa to come to college here in the U.S. And I was very fortunate in the sense that I came here and I kind of went to college for a few years and met a nice American girl, married her, and went through that whole very nasty, as you probably know, immigration process where your entire private life is turned upside down and inside out, by these government bureaucrats before they grant you this, so-called citizenship, right? But at the time, I didn't know anything better. At the time, I was a neocon. I believed, this is the greatest country on earth. The flag, the pledge, all that crap. So I was a Rush Limbaugh listener.
We all have our sins. Come on.
We do, of course, man, and it really is. And this is what I usually tell people: don't be ashamed of your background, right? You are who you are today because of this journey, you've been on, right? So I'm not going to be embarrassed. Yes, I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh, and Rush, we've had our moments. We kind of learn through that process, and we kind of grow up, and we end up where we are today, right? Because of that. So. And once in my senior year in college, I started a business, an internet service provider. This is back in the dial-up days. And I dropped out of college. The business did really well for a while, and then we ended up selling it to a competitor. And ever since, man, I feel like I've done pretty well with my career, doing information security work, engineering, and architecture type work in the IT world. And then here I am today. 20 some years later, and it's politically speaking and philosophically, I've kind of come to be an anarchist, so to speak, or a voluntarist, a libertarian, mostly thanks to shows like Free Talk Live. The guys, Ian and Mark. I don't know if you know them. And,
I interviewed Ian, not Mark though, but Ian's a cool guy. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool guys. And I mostly ran across these guys by accident because I was looking for libertarian type of, talk shows. And, I think one day, literally, I just Googled libertarian talk show and I came up with Free Talk Live, and I subscribed to their podcast. And once I started listening to them, I was like, wow, these guys are insane. But I think Ian and Mark, both of them, are very good at just synthesizing the libertarian philosophy in fewer words and just presenting the message in such a way that is appealing and is substantive and it really kind of grabs your attention. And that's kind of my history, really. That's kind of how I've come to be here today.
Yeah, it's interesting when I guess when we started along this path, when I started reading this kind of stuff like Rothbard, and Larken Rose and stuff like that, and then one of the things that crossed my mind was like, you can say that, or you can look at things like that, and
right.
and so it's a shock in the beginning because you're so not used to thinking in those terms, but then after a while, after the shock factor wears off and the emotions wither away, then you're like, you know what, this makes sense, this is logical, this is rational.
Yes,
freedom works. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. And Rothbard was actually the turning point for me as well. I had a friend of mine. I was in this weird transition period where I was very disenchanted with the Republican Party, and there's no way in hell I was going to jump to the Democrats. And I was looking at the Libertarian Party, and as a former, commie, someone coming from Romania, I'm very, very active. At least I used to be very active in politics. I even ran for office here in Ohio. I'm not the kind of guy to where I sit back and observe. I'm not a lurker. I'm not, I'm not the guy to sit back. And I've always I've always been an activist. Even in Romania, under communism. I mean, we set things on fire, certain communist buildings, and we did some crazy things, me and my friends. I've always been a contrarian to some extent, and when I came here, that streak in me kind of continued. So once I ran across Rothbard and I started reading The Anatomy of the State, and a few other of his essays and books, that was really the turning point for me because, as an engineer, I'm very logical. I'm very, my methodology is to just logically analyze anything or any problem, come up with a solution. And then, Rothbard is very good at logically following through, a thread. And, it was a home run for me. That was a turning point for me. And that's when I, run across Free Talk Live and so on. After that it's all history. But, that's kind of what brought me to libertarianism. Ultimately, it was Rothbard, and I never heard of Larken Rose, until a while later. Molyneux, and I didn't know who any of these guys were, and then I didn't even know what the Free State Project was until probably years after I read Rothbard, because I didn't care about what any of these guys. I was just focused on at least understanding the message. So once I got past these questions of who's going to build the roads and who's going to protect us, then I came around fully, and I finally, got the, what the message of liberty is all about.
Yeah, Larken Rose did a great rant. He does these little rants. Used to be daily rants, so now they're kind of more like weekly rants, but he still calls them daily rants. But the topic was about that idea. How a lot of statists, they when they ask, who's going to build the roads, who's going to take care of the poor, who's going to, take care of the sick and the elderly, and all that kind of stuff. Usually, what they're doing is deflecting, moving the goalpost, right, changing the subject, because they don't want to face uncomfortable realizations, like you can't delegate a right you don't have, like taxation is theft. Like, right. The belief in authority is a lie, right? Like things like that, anything like that. It's uncomfortable for people to think of these simple things, so they kind of try to project these really extravagant, ridiculous, and also irrelevant scenarios, and they really don't matter, right? It's like if you don't know how the cotton will be picked without slaves, does that mean it's okay to enslave people?
Right. I totally get it. There's a certain level of comfort in having been in a communist country, having lived in a communist country for almost 20 years. There's a certain level of comfort, and I hate to say this, in the ignorance and in this complacent place, really, as a human being, where you look at the state as this entity, as someone or some group of people that are going to take care of you.
Right.
I've experienced that myself, because even when I was a neocon here in the U.S., I remember thinking, it's great that we have this government that has a great military power to protect us and keep us safe. Well, we all know very well that's bullshit, right? These people are not protecting us. They don't give a crap about you. They don't give a crap about me. They're not there to protect us. They're just protecting their masters. Yes, indirectly we may reap some, weird benefits. If we go to war, and I'm using we as the United States, this country goes to war with someone else, maybe, me living in the Midwest here, I get some additional protection because I live 20 miles away from some big Air Force base and so on. But that's not, that's not philosophically sound. That's not a philosophically sound position to hold when you defend the state. That should not be a reason for me to point a gun at you and take your money and call it taxation and, and so on. So,
right.
I remember even the same similar topic when I was discussing immigration with people. This was years and years ago, when soon after I got married, and I was, we were struggling with attorneys and paying thousands of dollars to these people for me to get my citizenship, because I was borderline being deported, right? And my student visa expired, and I was ready to get kicked out of the country. And I remember thinking, wow, if I'm going through this, why would someone else have it easy when they come here? They should experience the same pain. And of course, that's insane thinking. That's like slave on slave mentality. But at the time, I didn't know any better. So you're right. The state lends itself to weak minds and ignorant people and folks who are just avoiding this, an effort to think and just make an effort into, improving the world, so to speak, because ultimately, man, I mean, if you're thinking that roads are the, asphalt or concrete roads, are the height of human evolution, we would not be flying. There would be no airplanes flying in the skies, you know? So yeah, the government, government and road building, if that's the most we can hope for, we're in trouble as human beings.
Yeah, it's like where, you know, you have no, it's a broken window fallacy. You know, the government is one giant broken window fallacy. It's like it's not like you can look at, you know, the White House and the IRS building and, you know, all these government buildings and say, look at that, isn't that, and public school, and look at all these public schools. Isn't that wonderful? We have all these things because of government. No, the real question should be what possible inventions and creations and businesses were destroyed because of the funding that was stolen from the productive people to build those things. And that's the real tragedy. You never get to see that part.
It really is. It really is. You never get to see it. You never get to see the opportunities lost as a result of the state taking, you know, by force all these funds from people, and in essence just giving them to large corporations, because that's what's happening today in this country. I mean, huge majority of the money taken from citizens are simply just redistributed to large corporations in exchange for mostly weapons. And you know, who knows what kinds of, you know, other, you know, government type of services that
right. So
only benefit you.
So in an effort to outcompete, because I think I saw a great meme today. It's like you know, in response to, you know, how would we live without the government, or how would we abolish the government? You know, I don't really like to say abolish because it's just like belief in authority. But, you know, how would we live without the state? Well, the same way that we live without Blockbuster, the fax machine, and the cord phones. That's the same way. We're just going to evolve past it, right? You don't have to destroy anything. You don't have to like destroy. Like it's like saying we have to, you know, storm the White House and drag the president out and lynch him and crucify him. No, it's like saying like the problem is Santa Claus or the problem is the Easter Bunny. No, the problem is in the people's minds. So that's why I love what you are doing with the Cell 411 is you are actually out-competing the monopolized police law enforcement
we're beating them at their own game. It really is, and you've said it very well. It all is about a paradigm shift, and the paradigm we currently are in is this world that we live in. The ideas that people have in their heads that the government is there to protect them, and personal safety. I mean, technically, think about it. We've all evolved as human beings over millions and millions of years, however long it took us, you and me, at this moment in time, talking on Skype. We are here because us and our ancestors have been so good at surviving and being safe without getting killed by everything who wants to kill them in this world. We are here because of that. Survival and safety is what we long for most as human beings, as animals and humans. And that is in our very fiber of our being. That is what drives us to survival. And I think the state and these government bureaucrats, that's the nasty, disturbing, beautiful thing about the state is that they've managed to turn that into this controlling, into the chains that are around people's necks today. That's how they use fear-mongering. They use the fear of terrorism and ISIS and, the Russians or whoever, you name it. There's always someone that, is ready to kill you and me, but the state is there to save us. So they've used this paradigm to control us. But the great thing is, I think, and this is why they hate guns, this is why they hate self-defense, because once human beings understand that, hey, we are responsible for our own safety. I'm responsible for keeping my family safe. You're responsible for keeping your children and your family safe. Once people understand that their safety is in their own hands and in the hands of their communities, their neighbors, people next door, that's when the paradigm kind of falls apart, because humans are understanding that nobody in Washington cares about them. Nobody's going to, some politician's not going to show up at your house if a burglar breaks in at midnight. That's ridiculous. Cops are not going to be here. Cops are patrolling or, sleeping in their car somewhere. So I think this is why Cell 411 is appearing, at least at this point in time, to work. It's because it's kind of, destroying this last paradigm that the government is holding over our heads, the idea of personal safety. And once we put this idea of personal safety back into the hands of the masses, back into the hands of the people, empower the people to take that power back, and understand that, hey, I am responsible for my community, for my neighbors and my family and in my home. The government suddenly becomes irrelevant. What is the purpose of government once that that fear is removed? Why do we need government after all? So I think Cell 411 will be a winner because of that. And I've already seen it in countries like South Africa, where the government has completely failed to provide safety, even the most basic safety for citizens. There are hundreds of apps similar to Cell 411. We have the best because, the features we have and so on. There are other competitors that are kind of trying to do the same thing. But, man, we're doing really well. And South Africa is a great proving ground for what the future holds. Because in the United States, I see a future where, same things are going to happen. The police is going to fail to protect people. Violence is probably going to escalate. All we need is a very small economic disturbance in the economy here. Food to run, food shortages and so on. Can you imagine this country, where the economy collapses and the dollar, crashes? It's going to be chaos. Everyone has a gun, and it could be, all-out war. And a tool like Cell 411 would be priceless in the hands of the folks, to organize and plan and react. So I think this is why it's going to do really well, and I think it's been fairly successful so far. We've only been around for technically just 4 months or so, and in 4 months we managed to get about 54,000 users. Nice. So it's exciting, and my goal is to have 1 million users by the end of 2017, and I think we're on track to to get to that 1 million users.
So for now it's free, right? Free download. Will it stay that way?
That's right. The app will always be free. We when we released version 1 last year, which to me that was just a beta. I was trying to find, because this is just a personal project to me, more or less. It has been up until recently. And, I kept pumping money into it. It's expensive to hire developers. You're talking about basically hiring 2 full-time people and paying them out of my salary. Wow. And we're just scraping by, at least we have been. Right. And I tried a 99-cent, model, per download, and that didn't work very well. We live in an economy where, the millennials, and most folks who use mobile apps on a regular basis, they expect free apps. I know. And we're trying to kind of build this model where we give people a free app. They can use a lot of features for free, but then maybe build a corporate model on top of that, or tons of other professional type of features, and monetize it that way. But I don't think we're ready for that just yet for prime time, although we have some really cool stuff coming up soon. So it's going to be exciting. Have you had any, I'm sure you've got like angel investors, and I think, did Jeff Berwick offer to help you out with the... Jeff Berwick, yeah, I've had some really interesting conversations with him, and they're still ongoing, to some extent. And, I'm definitely willing to work with Jeff as well if things work out. But, we did have one angel investor. He invested about $200 and some $1,000, almost $250,000. Nice. Yeah, he's from Europe, which is great because we don't have to deal with all the financial market regulators here in the U.S. So that worked out really well. And his investment really helped us a couple of months ago to just kick it up another notch. Basically, I have 4 full-time developers working for me now. I can focus a lot more on development and marketing and pushing the app out. And we've been kicking ass. I mean, we've put out version 3 just 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it, but we have a new UI. We have a brand new live video streaming engine in the app, so you can live stream video if you want, if you have an encounter with cops and so on. And now we're ready to release full integration with Facebook, to where people's emergency alerts will be posted to their Facebook walls. And also we're going to soon announce the release of a small hardware panic button that you can actually clip on your belt, and you pair it up with your app. So, if you're in an emergency or if cops are harassing you, all you have to do is just press the button on your belt or on your wrist, and alerts go out to, thousands of people if you so want. So we're heading in a very cool direction here. And of course, the future, we're talking about, entire fleets of drones that can come and help you if you need help. So we have some really, really cool futuristic ideas on where to take this. So it's exciting.
Wow, that's really awesome. So I'm just curious. So with the streaming, like it goes directly to where? It's a Facebook wall, or it downloads somewhere else, like on a website or something? Where's the video go?
Yeah, so the video streaming we're using, we're using servers distributed. Basically, our video servers are hosted with AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, and they're distributed all over the world. We have a handful of servers on each major continent, so that way someone in India doesn't have to stream all the way to the United States. They stream in Mumbai or Singapore, for example. Same thing for Australian users. That way, the latency for traffic is much, much lower, so you get much better quality video. And then once the videos are streamed, all your friends who were watching the video live, they can actually download it to their own devices. So if, let's say, you have a really bad interchange with a cop, right? The cop decides to beat you up. You get that on video. They will not be able to basically erase the footage from your phone. All your friends will already have it. It's fully distributed, so it's impossible to erase evidence, for example. So we've built it like that on purpose because cops are notorious for opening people's phones, deleting evidence, erasing videos that make them look bad. So basically, from the beginning, I've tried to build this into a platform for activists, people that are regularly, involved in interactions with police or neighborhood watching and things like that. And it kind of slowly over time evolved into what it is today, and it's going to continue to evolve into, things that are better and better with every release.
One feature that really got me laughing when I found out about it was the, when you're taking a video, I think it's like, press this button if you want to delete the video, right? And then it takes a picture of the user.
The fake delete feature. Yeah, that's actually specifically there for cops because once you enable that, they can go delete it. It doesn't actually remove the footage.
Right.
It tricks you to thinking that, and it takes a picture of who's trying to delete it. So,
genius. I love that kind of stuff. Wow. So the video gets downloaded onto like all your people in your network through the Cell 411 app, I assume, right?
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yes. Yeah. So it will be stored on a server until the live stream is done, and then users can actually download it by manually. You can tap on a download button. It gets downloaded to your device, and it becomes basically impossible to remove. So that's.
Yeah, I use every time I travel, I always use Waze, for maps, but it's wonderful because it has this the network of users that you're kind of interacting with, and they alert you and you alert them, and it's just an awesome thing, and I kind of made it into a game because I homeschool my kids. I have a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. And we're in the car, and we're listening to GPS, and then it says police ahead, and so I tell my kids, all right, kids, road pirate. Can anybody spot the road pirate? And so I make it into a game, and then they're like, I see the road pirate.
I use Waze. I use Waze almost daily because I have a fairly lengthy commute to my office.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with Waze. Unfortunately, Google. They do not have an open access to their API for Waze, which is really unfortunate because I would love to integrate Cell 411 with Waze. But Google doesn't allow that, unfortunately.
Really?
So,
oh, wow. So what kinds of features would you want to incorporate? Like, is it like those kind of like a map type feature?
Yeah, so things like, locations of cops, that would be great because what would happen is if you're driving and let's say you drive within half a mile of a cop's location or an accident, for example, you could get an alert instantly and know, hey, you're within half a mile of a police officer or an accident, be careful and so on. So there's a lot of positive things that we could get from Waze, but Google decided to close the API and not give us access, which is fine. We can develop our own.
Yeah,
not a problem.
So you're gonna try to do this? You're gonna try to do the same thing like yourself? Just
we're going to do. There will be a little bit of overlapping there. We're gonna introduce a feature soon where you can drop a pin on a map for known police, stakeout areas where. Right. We can start actually geotagging certain locations where cops are known to lurk. Right. So that way, if you're an activist or, I've been very open about the fact that I would love people in the black market. If you're a drug dealer or, whatever you're doing, if you're selling weed on a street corner, I would love for you to use Cell 401 to stay safe. And, I have no qualms about that. And I think that knowing where cops are located and, lurking and trying to harm, peaceful people that are just selling a joint or giving a joint to a friend,
right.
People should be able to use the app to stay safe from police officers. One incident I read about in Mexico and Cell 411, we're actually building a Spanish version of it right now. In Mexico, cops notoriously abuse women when they arrest them. And, a lot of cops are actually hand in hand working with the drug cartels. So there are kidnappings and murders, and women are getting raped when they're arrested and sent to jail. It's terrible situation. And we're actually speaking with a director from Hollywood right now. He's ready to release a documentary on the kidnapping market in Mexico. And he's reached out to us and asked us about potentially partnering up. And we're still in discussions with him about releasing a version of the app to help those folks in Mexico out. So there are so many ways. Another example is Mozambique. Mozambique has actually a guy from the UN, from the United Nations, reached out to me because the UN is so bad at keeping track of people. They have doctors and physicians and volunteer nurses in Mozambique. They're there to help people who are sick, right? This is a medical establishment. And they're so bad at knowing where to go to find people that they actually reached out to me. They said, "Hey, is there a possibility that you could build a light version of the app so that it runs on really old devices or really old versions of Android?" Because so many of these pregnant women out there, like something like 1 out of 5 pregnant women die in childbirth in Mozambique because they cannot get doctors, they don't have clean environments, and so on. They get infections and so on. It's a really bad situation. So, I don't have a problem working with these folks. So there's a huge potential. There's a huge market out there for helping people, basically. And right now, that's my goal. I don't care about making money off of this right now. There's plenty of time for us to find out ways to monetize this app. And there's plenty of ways to do that. But right now, my main concern is let's get it in the hands of as many people as we can. Encourage these people to divorce themselves from the government and from the state and dependencies on the state. Encourage them to depend on their neighbors and their families and their friends. And that's kind of how we really slowly change the world. This is huge, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that just because I created this project, but to be honest with you, look at Uber, man. Uber's valuation right now is over $60 billion. And it's so ridiculously stupid because all Uber is just an app that lets people, puts people in touch with each other for a stupid car ride somewhere. To me, I mean, that's all Uber is.
Yeah.
And to me, for that company to be worth $60 billion, it's mind-blowing. And here we are, not every human being on this planet needs a car ride. But every human being on the planet, every human needs to feel safe and needs to be, everyone needs safety and wants to feel safe. So honestly, I think we can change the world in a much more real way than Uber has changed the world. The key is how we are going to get there. And right now we're running on a very small budget. And I'm hoping one of these days we're going to find the right investors and connect with the right people that can push us to the top and kick us into really high gear to where we can get our hands on this project and really change the world. But I think we're on the right track. I'm very excited about it.
Do you guys also have like a Patreon or crowdfunding or Kickstarter or anything like that?
No. I tried to do something on one of these Kickstarting websites, and it was a miserable failure. We only raised like $600 or something like that. So, but we are good. I think we're financially we're okay for at least another year and a half.
Okay.
I'm not really concerned. I think we have plenty of time to get the app to where I want to see it, and I think we're going to be year and a half, 2 years. It's plenty of time for us to find some some more investments and kick it up to the next notch. So I'm excited.
Yeah, what this this app and this conversation reminds me of is the famous Buckminster Fuller quote of you don't change the system by attacking it, but by creating new systems to make the existing system obsolete.
Exactly. Right. And this is what I've been telling people in Romania under communism. People have over decades of living in this oppressive communist world. We've learned that living a subversive lifestyle is much more powerful and much more damaging to the system than going up in the streets and yelling at people and throwing, firebombs and Molotov cocktails and or shooting cops, or you are going to undermine the system and bring it to its knees much faster if you live a subversive lifestyle rather than just firing bullets at people. So I usually try to encourage my anarchists and libertarian friends to pursue subversive lifestyles, grow your own food, live independently, stop paying taxes if you can, do the best you can to just, screw the system over, and eventually it'll come to an end. And, a lot of my friends look at me like I'm crazy when I talk about these things, but man, I've already lived through one revolution. I've seen people run over tanks right in front of me, and I've seen, people shot in the streets, and and often, I tell people, look, I've already done that. I didn't come to this country to do that again, honestly. And if you guys cannot fight for your own freedom as Americans, I'm not going to do it for you, And it's on you guys to find your own ways and your own revolution if you're looking for a revolution. But like Ian Freeman likes to say on Free Talk Live, let's aim for an evolution rather than a revolution, and let's evolve into what we want to be next, and what create this world that we want to live in. You're right,
definitely. Well said. I mean, so many people, when I talk about write about the things that I write about and talk about, like the immorality of government and statism and laws and regulations and taxes, and then like, all right, so I'll get my gun, and when should we start the revolution? I'm like, no, calm down. No, it's not like that, right? So the problem is not in Capitol Hill, right? The problem is not in the White House. The problem is not in the House of Representatives. It's not in the Senate, right? It's not in any state legislature. It's not in any federal agency. That's not the problem. The problem is in the people's minds, right? Because
their minds and hearts.
Right. Once they stop legitimizing it and accepting it and approving of it and paying into it, it just collapses like a house of cards.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I see that every day. I'm amazed at how willing Americans are to send their children to these prisons that they call schools. We homeschool. We have 4 children. We homeschool them all. I would die before I send them to government schools. But 90% of the population out here, they love their government schools. These are indoctrination camps.
Right,
they love the schools. They love, hearing about children being forced to say the Pledge of Allegiance. They love all this garbage, man. They love paying taxes. They love their military, their cops. Just the other day, there's something at where did I see this? I think it was Panera. Oh no, it's a Kings Island. It's a park, like an amusement park here, not far from us, where they had a free police and fireman day. And these are like $60 tickets. And I was thinking, wow, holy crap, why? It would be a great day to put a fuck the police shirt and walk around, right? But
right.
But it's, why? Why would you want that? Panera has on Wednesdays, free soup for cops and firemen. I mean, I understand firemen because they actually do something to some extent. But cops, why would, cops get free coffee everywhere they go?
Right.
Americans love their slave masters, and things are not going to change until, their minds and their hearts are going to change.
Right. It's the epitome of Stockholm Syndrome. And I saw one article of this one business, I guess it was like a cafe, and he put like a sign outside which says, no government employees. are welcome. And there was a cop that actually came in, and he said, "I'm sorry, sir, but you're making the customers nervous. Please leave." And the cop left. He didn't make a big problem with it. And then he was being interviewed by some news agency, and he was like, I don't like them to be inside, which is awesome. Isn't that amazing? So again, if more businesses would do something like that, I think things would change as well.
They would. I think if more people took a stand against government abuse and government bureaucrats, things would change. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
But yeah, it's definitely a reflection of people's 12 years of indoctrination. I mean, is it a coincidence you go to government school for 12 years and then you come out supporting government? I mean, I don't know. It's too much of a coincidence.
I think so. Someone somewhere figured out that this works. The indoctrination scam work. And it's funny because I spent 12 years in communist schools and it completely backfired on me. So on them, because I never believed into any of their stuff. Right. But I think honestly most people did not. And this is Communist Romania. What is scary is that here actually people believe that garbage. They really buy into it. Right. We didn't buy into communism in Romania. We knew it was empty of any value. It was all lies. It was all crap. But here actually when people pledge allegiance to a flag here, man, they mean that. Try to go to some government official, business when they say the pledge. Try to not stand up or stand up and turn your back to the flag. Ooh. See what happens. Woo! You're talking. You may even get a beat down, man.
They're gonna I say bury you in logical, rational arguments about.
No, yeah, right.
About why statism makes sense. No, that's impossible.
Right. So that's what's disturbing about this country because, people really mean that stuff here. They love, people cry about their flags. They get tears in their eyes. The government has figured out a way to brainwash them in such a way that, literally people will die for their flag. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really amazing. But I don't want to keep you any longer. I know you have your kids to get back to. So please let my audience know where they can find you. Just plug your pages again if they want to follow your work.
Yeah, if you wanna check out Cell 411, go to getcell411.com. You can download the app there. You can read about it. There's an FAQ on the site. It explains kind of how the app works and what it actually does. Go to virgilvaduva.com. There's a contact form on the page, or just email me to vvaduva, VVADUVA @gmail.com. I respond to emails very quickly. Or check me out on Facebook. I'm fairly reachable guy. The reason you and I haven't been able to stay in touch very well lately is because I've been my Facebook account has been suspended for the last 30 days. Over some, I don't even know over what. Who knows? I say controversial stuff all the time. It's impossible to know what happened or who complained about something I've posted. So, Facebook is very good at listening to people that are easily offended. So we'll see.
You're guilty of hate speech. What can I say? We're all
probably.
Why do you?
Someone somewhere thought I was hating them. Yeah.
Why do you hate the poor? Why do you hate? Why do you hate women, Virgil? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wonderful conversation. So actually, before you go, I usually ask all my guests, what is your favorite quote of all time?
Oh man, that's a tough one. So I have a tattoo on my thigh. Actually, I have tattoos all over the place, but I have one that I've designed myself, which is the anonymous logo, surrounded by some phrasing, and I have two phrases around it. One is "Sic semper tyrannis," which, as you well know, is "and thus unto tyrants." That's what it means in Latin. And the second one is "Carpe noctem," which is a play off "Carpe diem." The famous Carpe Diem, seize the day, don't postpone things, just do things today, seize your day and get stuff done and, grow and all that. And to me, Carpe Noctem, seize the night, is such, it carries so much more power because it lends itself to what I was saying earlier, which is really subversive living. Just live subversively, seize the night, live in the shadows and you can you can instill change around you and in the world in a very powerful way. Just by seizing the night. So that's kind of my favorite quote, I guess. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I made it up or not. Maybe I've read it somewhere and, and I remembered it, but it's on my skin. So it's really important to me.
That's great. That's awesome. Actually, that kind of reminds me of, when people who are really, really productive, and then and they sleep very little, and they're like, "I'll sleep when I'm dead."
That's right. That's the night.
Seize the night. It's like, that's such wasted hours. Like 8, I can get 8 more hours done of work. Why would I want to waste it sleeping? It's so inefficient.
I know, man. I know. I'm not a morning guy. I love sleeping, but I've noticed as I'm getting older, I have problems sleeping in. So I'm noticing that I'm sleeping less and less. I don't know if that's a symptom of getting older or not. Maybe it is. But in some ways, it's a good thing. In some other ways, it's not, because I'm tired all the time. So as you get older, in about 10 years, you'll see.
It's the price. It's the price for being a productive and industrious individual. Well, I thank you very much for the magnificent conversation and for everything that you're doing with this app, because I think you're really making a big difference in many people's lives, especially in South Africa, where things like this are sorely needed. So yeah, this is how you change the world. You go out there and you do things to the best of your ability. You see, where things are deficient in the world, who is suffering, why are they suffering, and what do they need to alleviate their suffering, and you provide it to them. And I think that's how we have lifted ourselves out of the dark ages. Although I still think we still have a little bit more lifting to go, but you're definitely, I think, doing a great job.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're just in the very first. I mean, think about it. Electricity has only been around for 100 and some years, invented and discovered, and transportation and so on. I mean, we've technically only been civilized as human beings for only 150, 200 years, maybe. So we're just at the very beginning of human evolution, of true human evolution. So I think we're the pioneers, the early pioneers of, that we have on our shoulder the responsibilities of just taking the world in a new and better direction, hopefully. And maybe in 5,000 years from now, maybe we'll live out there in the universe and look back and be able to say, man, humanity has really made it. There's no more government and people are living freely and people have figured out how to get along and so on. But who knows what the future holds. But like I said, this is just the beginning. I'm hoping that, the world will only get better from here. And I think it will.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a one-way street to freedom, and voluntarism is a boat that everyone needs to get on. And it's a great quote that I like to think about, which is every society, it's like every society reveres its conformists and kind of destroys its troublemakers, or something like that.
That's unavoidable.
Yeah, so it's I think people like you doing what you're doing, your the value that you're providing may not necessarily be realized now, the full extent. Unfortunately, it's like maybe we won't see a voluntary society, in my lifetime or your lifetime, but hopefully for my kids, my grandkids, that's why we're doing this, So it's wonderful.
Agreed.
But awesome conversation, Virgil. Thank you very much. So if anyone,
thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking to you, and it's been an awesome talk. Absolutely.
Yes, thank you very much. So if anybody wants to donate to me, you can do so through Bitcoin, Patreon. That's patreon.com/peacefulanarchism, or you can use the Amazon affiliate links on my website to buy your products through Amazon at no extra cost to you. I get a small commission from that, and you can help me interview fascinating people like Virgil here, which I love doing. As we know, through capitalism, we all respond to incentives. So if you like what I do, please provide me monetary compensation if you enjoy it, value for value. It's the capitalist way, right? That's how you make. That's how you see more things of what you love in the world, is by patronizing it, right? So awesome conversation. Thank you very much. So take care. This is Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network and theseedsofliberty.com and theconsciousresistance.com. Wishing everyone have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.